Welcome to Games I Bought for the Cover. This is the series where I willingly spend time and money on games based solely on their box art, and then live with the consequences. Today's cybernetic disaster, or hidden gem depending on how charitable you feel, is none other than this week's featured SEGA Genesis title is Cyborg Justice. The cover screams 90s metal album. Two robots duking it out in a fiery industrial wasteland. If you don't hear electric guitar riffs just by looking at it, you may actually be a machine yourself. The main selling point, proudly stamped on the cover, build 216 killer cyborgs, which sounds less like a game mechanic and more like an HR violation at a robotics factory. The chrome-bladed, the neon title font, and the explosive action pose. It's like a movie James Cameron didn't direct, but totally could have. The promise is clear. You're a robot, you fight other robots, and it's gonna be awesome! Of course, as history has taught us, video game covers often lie. Let's see if the gameplay lives up to the robot-on-robot carnage we were promised. Game info and story. The story is a strange mix of sci-fi cliché and we ran out of budget. You're a human whose ship crashes on a mining planet run by evil robots. The bad guys probably upload your brain into a robot body, which honestly sounds like a pretty sweet upgrade compared to dying in space. Now armed with steel fists, rocket legs, and the general disregard for OSHA safety standards, you fight your way through waves of hostile cyborgs. The hook. You can rip off enemy parts and swap it with your own. Want tank trays instead of legs? Sure. Want a boss arm? Why not? It's basically Build-A-Bear, but rated M for Mel. Public reactions and review. So how did players react back in the 90s? Well, let's just say not everyone was thrilled with their purchase. On one hand, the concept of customizable cyborgs was undeniably cool. It was the one feature everyone remembered even decades later. But the controls? Imagine trying to parallel park a refrigerator on roller skates. That's how responsive your robot felt. Clunky was the word most often used in reviews. And not the fun kind of clunky like a giant mech stomping to a city, more like clunky in the "why isn't my push button working" way. Game Pro at the time gave it mixed marks, praising the robot building but criticizing the slow, awkward combat. Modern players on forums often describe it as an ambitious idea trapped in a frustrating shell. One reviewer wrote, "Cyborg Justice is the kind of game that makes you want to love it until you actually play it." Another player joke, it's like they built the perfect robot and forgot to install the fun chip. To its credit, some fans genuinely enjoy the brutal animations and the sheer novelty of swapping parts mid-battle. And let's be honest, punching a robot so hard its arm comes off is never not entertaining. But ultimately, it's a game remembered more for its potential than its execution. Still, if you were a kid who picked it up based on the box art, you at least got a few hours of robot smashing joy before the frustration set in. Behind the game. Marketing leaned heavily on the 216 possible cyborgs angle, as if quantity could hide the quality issues. Unfortunately for SEGA, this was 1993. The same year Streets of Rage 2 existed, which instantly made Cyborg Justice look outdated. In terms of collectability, it's not particularly rare, but complete in-box copies with the flashy covers still attract collectors who can't resist killer robots. The real value? Nostalgia. Because who doesn't want to relive the disappointment of being promised a robot war and getting robot chores? Good and bad. The good. Customizable robot parts, unique concept for a beat-em-up, and occasionally satisfying robot smashing moments. The bad, clunky, unresponsive controls. Slow, repetitive comeback, overshadowed by far better games of the era. Trivia. Nova Trade International, the developer, later became Appaloosa Interactive, best known for Echoes at Tolthand. Quite the genre shift. The 260 combinations claim was technically true, but many combos were completely impractical, or just identical with minor cosmetic tweaks. Despite its flaws, some Cyborg Justice has a small cult following, mostly among players fascinated by its bizarre robot building system. Some magazines hyped it up before release as the next big brawler. That is about as well as milk left in his son. The cover art is often praised more than the game itself. Many fans admit they only bought it because the box looked amazing. In other words, it's perfectly embodied the spirit of this channel. Cyborg Justice, a game that proved even robots aren't immune to bad design choices. Thanks for watching games I buy for the cover. Now, excuse me while I rip off my own arm and revision it with a better controller.